And welcome to all of you on the Crawford Podcasting Network, all Rell and Good, covering Michigan basketball with former Michigan standout, power forward, jump out of the gym kind of guy from Riviera Beach, Florida, Richard Rellford. And he's smiling all day. I am too after two straight Michigan Big Ten basketball victories. The Wolverines, by the way, are 3-0. But all everybody was thinking about a week ago. And Richard, last week, you were admittedly a little bit discouraged about this basketball team, but you said that
Yes.
they bounced back, and they did indeed bounce back. That infamous players only meeting war. Did you ever have a players only? Did you ever have a players only meeting with your team?
Oh yeah, a few times. Even when we were winning in the streaks, we had player only meetings. When we were winning, 6, 7, 8 in a row, we have it because you have to listen. You have to stay focused
Yeah,
because everybody around you is hyping it. When they're hyping when you're winning because everybody loves a winner. And
yeah.
so now I think what's going on, our guys, man, listen, they'll settle in. We still got a long ways to go. We're 3-0 in the Big Ten. Listen, this is a better start than any.
Hey, let me ask you that. I'm speaking about because you and your junior and senior years for Richard Rellford back-to-back Big Ten championships. So you probably, and you didn't really have any bad losses. Well, the Michigan State loss, but we're not going to
Mhm.
talk about that at
Right.
86. But maybe
Right.
when Carlton Valentine comes on with us. But uh, when you'd walk the diag after a
Mhm.
big win, like when you beat Iowa in that big game, and some of these big wins, where people are telling you how great you were, did you get that as a student?
Listen, we got it. Everywhere you went. The cool part was the students. They treated you like rock stars, but you were still approachable
Okay,
because now you're in classes with them. Everybody's hyped. Some of the professors are hyped,
yeah,
and so you use that as motivation,
yeah.
and that's what we did. We use it as motivation.
But how did you this leads me to the question is how did you stay grounded when they were telling you how great you were?
Because we've always believed that you're only as good as your last game. So no
Okay.
matter how much hype you give me, by the time I became a junior and we started winning my senior year too, my senior year more than my junior year. Listen, we stayed so focused, Tom. All we could think about was win as much as you can because when the Big Ten season comes, anything is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason and that's really ties into the post game press conference
Mhm.
about how tough it is to win. And Hunter Dickinson, one of your favorite on this team,
Yes, yes.
said we were talking about momentum. Yeah, the Central game was horrible, but now you bounced back against Maryland. You took that momentum into a win over a very good Penn State team
Yes.
last night. Pickens is a really good player, a
Yes, he
good
is.
team. It would blew out Illinois in Champaign, mind you. So now how do you parlay that into this road game with Michigan State? Okay,
Mhm.
so Hunter said there was three of them up there. Hunter said, "Well, you got to realize every game is different. It's a new entity. You start all over. I mean, you go on the next. I mean, momentum. Yeah, it's nice. You got a good attitude and everything, but it's a whole new game plan. You got to
Yes.
start from square one. Did you experience that same thing approaching your season?
Yeah, you have to. You have to look at it that way because whereas for us, on the way to the first Big Ten championship, we it was new to us. It was new, and we really wasn't thinking about it. We were thinking about each game, one game at a time.
Yeah,
And for us, we had a bunch of rival games because we had a bunch of teams that they talked a bunch of smack. Michigan State, Indiana talked smack. The guys from Ohio State talked smack. And so we got into the fun part of it. Winning brings on fun.
yeah,
And when it's fun and people telling you how great you are, listen, you try to ride that boat. You ride that boat as long as you can.
yeah, yeah. I assume. Well, let's get back into this breakdown of this game last night. Michigan won
Mhm.
79. Let me check. Yeah, 79-69. I got the score sheet there in the post game press conference.
Okay.
Wolverines. I mean, you talk about a game of runs on that, Rich. Michigan, this game was a game of runs, and that's what you're seeing in college basketball.
Yes.
And that's just the way the sport has always been. But I think it was like 40, 48, 48, 47, 47. Michigan goes on a 14-0 run.
Yes,
Okay.
they did.
And then Penn State goes on an 11-0 run. And then there's other runs in this game.
Yes.
And Juwan did not call timeout, I don't think.
No, he didn't.
It worked out, but I mean, well, why are so many runs? I mean, what happens?
What happens is like it's this. You said that Juwan didn't call a timeout.
Yeah.
The reason he didn't is because in order for this young team of his that he has, and some, you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out because you can't grow if you don't.
I mean, figure it out in real time.
In real time, because a timeout, what, you're going to break their momentum? No, break their momentum by continue to score on them and play better defense. You play better defense, and that's what we did last night, too. We played good D. We played good D. Hunter Dickerson, and I tell you this all the time, was as tough as I want him to be all the time.
I thought particularly in the first half, and I actually mentioned that to Juwan in the post-game presser about the defense, and he agreed with me in the first half. He was not happy a little bit of some of the lapses in the second half, but it was solid at the under 3 mark of the game in the second half because it got the stops because it was a 2-point game. I mean, it was tight. It got tied up, I think.
It did. It got tied. Yeah, it did. It got tied up
in the last few minutes. So I thought that was important. And what a difference, with rebounding. And then here's the stat of the day. Here's the stat of the day. Michigan, 3 turnovers the entire game. They had 0 turnovers at halftime.
Yes.
And then the other thing on this, Rich, Doug McDaniel, the freshman point guard who took over for Jalen Llewellyn, who just had knee surgery, by the way. And by the way, they FaceTime him after the game, and so I think that was really cool. But Doug McDaniel had 12 points, 4 assists, and 0 turnovers.
Yes.
3 total for the team. Wow.
Yes.
That kid's grown up fast. I thought all the freshmen played well.
Listen, my transfer, the point guard, was great last night. It's the best I've seen him play.
You talking about Doug?
Doug. I'm talking about Doug.
Yeah, well, he's actually you're confusing him with Jalen. I mean, Doug McDaniel's a true freshman.
Oh,
so he's
is he?
A true freshman, yes.
Okay. That makes it better.
Yeah, 33 minutes, 5-11 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3-point land, 1 of 2 from the line. The only thing that bothers me about this game last night, which I think can bite this team in the ass, except they missed 8 free throws, and they had a sequence that part of that 11-0 for Penn State was Michigan missed 5 consecutive free throws.
Yes. Hunter had missed 2 in a row.
Yeah, Hunter missed 2 in a row, and I'm trying to think of Jet Howard missed 2 in a row.
He so did. Did.
Can't do that.
Listen, you need that down the stretch on good teams. On really good teams, you're gonna need that down the stretch. You gotta hit the free throws.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it's gonna put yourself in a bad situation.
Yeah.
And so, they gotta work on that. They really do.
Yeah. Michigan had 4 guys in double figures.
Yes,
Kobe Buffkin is continuing. Kobe is continuing to improve every game in my mind. He's 3 or 4 from the free throw line. And then Joey Baker had 6 looks at the 3. He had 6 3-ball shots in the game. He hit 3 or 6 of them. He hit 3 of them.
Yes.
He had his shoulders square. And what I liked about this, Rich, was the 3 misses were close misses.
Yes, they were.
Well, I mean, those are going to fall. I think Joey Baker is starting to fit into a grind, and then you get Joey out. So these bench guys, you're talking Joey Baker, Terrace Reed off the bench, the big guy who really surprised. He reminds me of Butch Wade, especially the way he shoots free throws.
Yes, he do.
He clanks them. So I'll
Yes.
bust on Butch when we have him here. I said, you're Terrace Reed is your guy. And then Jace Howard didn't have a real. I mean, he just scrappy. He just scraps and
Yes.
claws and
Yes.
fills in some. He had 10 minutes in the game last night. I mean, Michigan's getting some decent depth development, I think.
I think that's what's going to carry us
Yeah.
because you need the depth because you're going to have situations when Hunter gets in foul trouble or Jet gets in foul trouble. Listen, you're going to need reserves.
Yeah.
And that's what makes good teams, though, Tom. I tell everybody the first fives may be good, but if you have no guys coming in to not only giving you rest, but being productive
Yeah.
while they're on the
Yeah.
floor, that's
Well,
going to carry you a long way.
yeah. I mean, so Hunter Dickinson has this bloody nose of
I
all
see
bloody
this.
noses.
Yes, I
I mean,
saw it.
first he knocks, he gets the things bleeding and they stuff it up there, they got it stopped, and then he hits the floor, which I love a big man hitting the floor. This thing
Every
is
every
gushing
minute.
blood. There was blood all over the floor,
Yes, but
and
listen, he looked like a warrior.
he looked, and it looked a great look, and it was 5 minutes it took to clean it all up. But that's that's what we're talking about. Now that's leadership. And actually what Hunter did last night is this is strange because he's a junior, but he and I give him credit for this because he's being he's a really candid guy.
Okay.
He says, I'm looking at Kobe diving for loose balls. He motivates me. Kobe's a sophomore,
Kobe's a sophomore.
and Hunter Dickinson is a
Junior.
junior. And he's looking. So Kobe is actually providing leadership by his physicality. A skinny guy out of Grand Rapids who's doing the job lately. All of a sudden, this team in 1 week went from "Good Lord, where's the season going?" and they're at the top of the heap in the Big Ten.
And that's why I texted you last night and told you Buffkin is becoming a leader
Yes, you did.
by his play.
Yes, you did. I forgot about that.
And with that, it's gonna you can't have a team I always believe with a bunch of just good players.
Yeah.
Somebody has to stand out, either vocal or physical, or listen, the kid is showing you by his play.
Yeah.
And Hunter's like you said, Hunter was motivated by this kid.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing but leader. Those are leader qualities. And I think we got some ways to go, Tom, but I got faith.
Yeah. Now, okay, so you go from that to Saturday and you didn't play in the Breslin Center because that was built after you left, but you were in even a more toxic environment for the Genesis Fieldhouse was.
We was in the field house.
I mean, they were on top of you. Did you listen as a player? Do you hear the words? Do you hear literally the words that they say to you, or is it just noise?
Just noise. And then when you say you at a free throw line, sometimes you hear people, but really and truly, we kind of block it out because we listen more to what coach is screaming from the sideline than what they saying. Because if you let them folks, if they irritate you, then coach can't get in, he can't get through to you. And so a lot of times that's what we did. We listen to coach and all the guys on the sideline. The fans are we're happy that they're there, but no, we don't hear it.
Okay, so your senior year, that's when Skiles went off. You lost that game. That was Big Ten champion year, but State swept you. State had a really unique team. I always say that was a bad matchup for Michigan. Just with Daryl Johnson and
yes, it was all over the floor. Was a bad matchup.
And Skiles and Vernon Carr, I think, was on that team. I mean, it was just a bad matchup. Okay, or Daryl Johnson. Yeah, I'm trying to think of who else. Larry Pollock was on that team.
Pollock was on there.
Yeah. So, but your junior year, you blew them out at Chrysler, and you go back up to Breslin, and that was a tight game, but you won the game.
Yes.
Gary Grant had a big layup, stealing right at the end to clear it. That was a big win. And I remember I was at the game, and I remember the noise level was. I mean, Sam Vincent was on that team. That's another guest we're going to have on here, by the way.
Yes.
We got to get Sammy Vincent on here.
Yes.
But so I remember you guys were you got your chairs all real tight together because the noise was so loud. I don't think y'all can hear each other in the huddle.
Coaches was right in front of us, and we couldn't even hear him. He was right in the front of us when they were making all that noise. We couldn't hear him at all.
Wow. So how do you think Michigan's going to handle? And there's a lot of toxicity in the Michigan State rivalry, and Hunter Dickinson is kind of stirring the pot on his podcast. And but he does it with, he loves the rivalry. He's a DC kid who's embracing this Michigan State rivalry, crazy as that sounds. And then the football game brought toxicity in the tunnel, all that incident to the rivalry. So you're going up to Breslin Center Saturday at 2:30. How's Michigan going to handle this? What do you think is going to happen?
I am a true believer because of my 7-footer, Hunter. Hunter can solve all problems for you, no matter who you got.
If he plays well.
He will play well if you go to him. I tell everybody this. Every time we go to him and we get him in the game, you see stuff like you saw last night, diving on the floor.
Yeah.
Because being a guy who's played with big men his whole career, you need those guys to be on their best when you go into rival games. Like, when Roy and Tim was on their best, they couldn't beat us.
Yeah.
So
it's an interesting matchup. They have this guy named Matty Sissoko, who's a sophomore. Okay. He's smaller than Hunter, but he's quicker than Hunter. And I've seen some matchups that Hunter's had where a smaller, quicker guy causes havoc with him. Whereas, when he was going against like Zach Edey from Purdue, a bigger guy,
big guys,
he was doing all right. It's like, and that's the quickness of Sissoko, who plays better against better players and worse against worse players. It's great. He's an interesting player. Okay. That's what concerns me, because sometimes Hunter defensively can be looking flat-footed out there.
Well, this is my biggest thing with Hunter. Once he gets in foul trouble, it's like a domino effect for him. If he can go into the second half in that game with one foul already given, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine.
Okay, so that is your variable.
That is my variable.
Hunter has to have one foul or less.
Oh, less, because last night in the second half, he got his first foul in the third quarter. I mean, in the second half, the beginning of the second half.
Yeah.
He got his first foul, like 14 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Come on.
Interesting.
He makes it because Tom, he blocks up. Listen, he's a 7-footer. And I don't care who you are. You may shoot jump shots on him, but you're not going to score many balls in the paint on him.
He has some blocks. Yeah, he has blocks.
He had some blocks last night. I was like, whoa.
I mean, like I said, in the first half, that was Hunter's best defensive play in the first half of that game.
Yes.
Last night.
Yes.
But it wasn't a big he was going against. So actually, this Penn State team reminds me a little bit of Michigan State. So maybe that's a sign. I don't know. Anyway, it'll be crazy, and they got Malik Hall back. They've got some injured players back, and the motivation will be. It's like when these road games, it's not so much the crowd, and I want your comment on that. It's not so much the crowd is going to make Michigan play bad. The crowd's going to make Michigan State play extra good. Do you think that's fair, where they're diving for loose balls? They might be going, and they might take them to more levels. Is that a fair statement, do you think?
Yeah, that's a fair statement. Listen, you saw Michigan last night playing at home.
Yeah.
Your home. That's why it's called home court advantage.
Yeah.
Because when you're at home, your crowd is going to hype you up every play.
Yeah.
Every play. And so they're playing at State. Yeah, we're going to have a few fans there, but we ain't going to have as many as they're going to have.
Yeah. We're not going to have any. And I thought Terrence Williams is another name. Terrence had 8 points in just an overall solid game. He had 9 rebounds. T. Will did. There's your X factor.
That's your X factor.
Right there. It's T. Williams.
Yep, it's T. And if he's shooting the ball well, wow.
Yeah, he's shooting the ball well. And I mean, he's got the unorthodox wind up.
It is, but you know
Have that
what?
one hand push like you do, Rich. You
As
know.
long as it's going in, I'm happy.
Yeah. So I mean, that's going to be a big game, man. It's like you don't. I think Michigan has to also hold their poise and not buy into things that get them in trouble. And the same thing with Juwan Howard. I mean, Juwan Howard has to make sure that because he's going to be antagonized.
Right. He's going to be antagonized.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree.
he is, based on some of his experiences, that he's had been exposed, that the Wisconsin incident and everything like this.
Right.
It's it's going to be crazy.
It's going to be crazy, but I look
I
forward to
don't.
it.
I'm going to watch it at home because I don't go to that environment because I don't need to have any more reason to disdain Michigan State.
Yeah. I agree. I would watch it at home too, Tom. I
Yeah,
promise
yeah,
you.
yep. So for a preview of our and as we close this up, the episode of All Rell and Good here on the Crawford Podcasting Network, next week we're going to have Terry Mills, former national champion, the voice or the color man for the Wolverine broadcast system up there on that team, the tandem that they have. And saw T last night. He's going to come on next week. We're going to get
Very
Sean
good.
Higgins. We're going to get Wayman Britt.
Get our boys back.
We're gonna get all the boys back. Mark Hughes, Gary Grant, some guys, and I always enjoy when I have a Wolverine and a Wolverine on and watch them chide each other and
There you
joke
go.
around and
I love
call.
it too.
And I think I'd rather hear that than hear me talk. So let's do that next week. And great job, Rich. All really good here on the Crawford Podcasting Network. Michigan 3-0 in Big Ten play. I think 9-5 or 9-5 overall. So looking good. Hope they keep it cooking up at present, and we can talk about something good next week, Rich.
Sounds good with me, man. Go blue all the time, Tom.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Take care. See ya.